broken home. I gave you all the bricks that I own and know. I'm letting go. I'm breaking these walls down, breaking these walls down. If you want adventure, then fly to home. But if you wanna travel, then go alone. Yeah, what's the point in us if I never know? Yeah, if you're gonna leave, I'ma let you go. I'm tired of the pain. Go away. I'm tired with yesterday. Fada, fada. I fell where my demons dwell. My own little nightmare, I call it hell. Oh well, it's time to get back up. Climbing and climbing, I'm done with this ride, is what I tell myself, so I could feel something else. Yeah, I guess I had my bad days, but it doesn't mean I lost my style. Darling, where were you when my heart was on the ground? I thought time would prove that you would stick around. I guess time stood still, a king without his crown. Now I'm breaking and you're faking, girl. You never made a sound. Oh, wait, I'm tired of the pain. Go away. I'm tired with yesterday. Fada, fada.
Hello, everyone. Hello, and welcome to today's session of the Azure Cloud Security Meetup group. So I'm here again together with Mr. Ibrahima himself. Ibrahima, how are you doing?
Hello everyone. Hello David. Hello Dan.
Yeah.
How are you
So
doing today? I'm fine.
yeah. It's okay. It's been a very busy week, but I'm sure that I'm not as busy as you have been. So I know you're a very busy man. Yeah. So yeah.
Less busy than you then.
I don't think so. So again, welcome everyone. Thanks very much for joining. Just some quick housekeeping information before we hand over to who you're all waiting for, Dan, for the amazing session that he has for us. So first of all, if you're yet to join the Meetup group, I'll put the link in the chat window. So use the link to join the Meetup group. So that way you can get notified of any future events that we have set up. So we have Dan Gora that will be speaking to us today on an aspect of cloud native security. Then we have other sessions that we are also setting up with other amazing speakers. So you get notified that way. So one of the things that's also important to note is that the sessions are recorded and they will be available on YouTube afterwards for you to be able to catch up, to rewind, to take in any information that you think you might have missed during the sessions. So please do feel free to watch the YouTube videos afterwards. And one of the last things just to mention is that we did announce another upcoming event today. So we have also put the link in the chat window. And also you can follow that so that you can get notified when it's time for the event. So enough about that. So Ibrahima, what do we have today?
We have, I think we will have a great session as always with Dan. We will talk about cloud security, secrets management.
Yes.
So welcome Dan again.
Thank you very much, and really happy to be here.
Yeah, and one of the things when I was reading your profile earlier, that it's very interesting because you use the term. I think you said you're like a munro-bagger, right?
Yes, yes.
And I looked at how and it's like you're into like is it like do like mountain climbing and a lot of that.
Yeah, it's actually
Nice.
an interesting question, David. So actually, munro-bagging is a national. So I'm from Germany, but I'm based
Yeah,
in Edinburgh, in Scotland,
yeah.
which I think is the best city to live in the UK. Just my own opinion. And actually, munro-bagging is something I absolutely love because it's basically a national sport in Scotland where we have hills above 3,000 feet. So
Oh,
basically, the highest hills, there's 282, and the
yeah.
goal is actually going on top of them all in any kind of weather, any kind of
Wow.
season. And
Wow. Okay.
about think like at 45%. I already you count them. I think I've got like 120 something already.
Wow.
But been living here for 3 years, so it's not something you can finish in a day. Some people might take 10 years, 15 years. But yeah, it keeps you busy,
Yeah.
apart from, of course, diving yourself into security issues the whole day. But
Yeah.
it's good
And
to get actually your heads
definitely.
in the cloud above the
Yeah,
highlands.
definitely keeps you fit also, right?
Yes.
So, yeah, definitely. So wow. So that's really amazing. So Dan, we're all looking forward to like the session. So if anyone does have any question, please do feel free to use the chat window on the right hand side so I can see lots of people already dropping messages in the chat window. So hello Esther, hello Chisom. So use the chat window to put your messages in the chat window, and we're going to read the messages out to Dan. So, but for now, Ibrahim and myself, we go to the background, and we're going to hand over to Dan to take us through the session. So, over to you, Dan.
Thank you very much, David and Ibrahima. Let me just share my screen
Yes.
and let me know once you can see.
Yes. So your screen is up now.
Perfect.
Awesome.
All right. So thank you
Good
very
session.
much again for everybody joining us today to talk about a topic that is very much to my OWASP and actually secrets management. Because in the end, if you think about cloud security, secrets or handling secret is the number one issue in order to do cloud securely and get it right. So let's just talk about this for a second. So first of all, as David mentioned, I'm Dan or Daniel, however you want to call me. I'm currently a lead cloud security architect at Cloudreach, which is an ATOS company, and I'm all the way passionate about DevSecOps, application security, and cloud native security. As I mentioned, I'm based in Edinburgh, but I'm actually originally from Germany and also lead the OWASP Frankfurt chapter, and I'm also a member of the OWASP German board, so also involved with that community, and really happy just to talk to you today about good things we do in OWASP and some really exciting project on the OWASP horizon. And also just mention what I do enjoy on a day-to-day basis, usually on the weekend, is what we call like the hill walking, munro-bagging, and also, as you can see on the left side, like history, where I usually mostly in Germany do like reenactment, including also Scottish reenactment. You can reach out to me more on Twitter, so DevSecOps, if you want to learn more about DevSecOps and application security, or just reach out to me via email via danigora.owasp.org. So let's first talk about the agenda. Just briefly, what is OWASP? And we're going to talk about the OWASP projects. Then we're going to learn about the OWASP WrongSecrets project and how it can actually help you learning secrets management, doing properly, and understanding how to actually elevate your application security program in the cloud. Then we're going to dive into WrongSecrets as a project example for OWASP and give some really cool demos. And there's also many user interaction. So I'm going to ask you some of the things we can point out, like insecure areas of the code, and really appreciate all your input. Also, it's going to be a vote. I think, David, if you can just post that link, maybe we can then go back to that vote after that as well. Then also we're going to talk about the mitigation techniques of doing secrets management properly. So some of the things that are really important to understand, and also just to conclusion. Now let's first talk about what is OWASP. And some of you might have heard OWASP, maybe the top 10, maybe you've heard about some in the context of like application security. But in fact, OWASP itself is actually quite a big organization. So consisting of volunteers. So last time, I think in Slack, I counted about like 20,000 active volunteers or like contributors within the OWASP community. But in the end, it is actually a non-for-profit organization really driving the security of software, which is everything that relates to code security. And we've been founded in 2004 as part of what we call the Open Web Application Security Project to really drive or work on that mission and help improve software security. And these are really exciting times because I think this or last year we've been now 20 years old. It was a huge conference and a show just to celebrate that. But going forward, it's going to be more important, especially when we're moving to the cloud and doing things securely around software security, especially when all the infrastructure and workloads are actually written as code. The important thing also what we do as part of OWASP, so everybody can get involved. You can become a volunteer or you can just start contributing. Usually we separate OWASP by 3 areas. One is the projects. So that's one we're going to talk about today, which is the OWASP WrongSecrets. And then we're going to have local chapters. And I'm certain there is a chapter nearby in your area that you could just join straight away for free and also learn more about application security. So I know there's one in London, one in Scotland, some in Germany. There might be also somewhere in every major country and even in city. So definitely check it out. And then we have the events. So we have usually, I think the next global AppSec is running next week in San Francisco, but also we have ones running in Europe as well as in Asia. So also something that is happening every year. And actually, we're going to have a bigger one organizing where I'll be organizing this next year in Germany. Now let's talk about the coolest thing about OWASP, and that's actually the project. And you might have heard some of the projects. So actually, in fact, we have over 256 projects. Actually, the number might already be changed since I created that slide. But in fact, you might have heard of the OWASP Top 10, which is like the top application security risk categories. You might have heard of maybe the OWASP cheat sheet series for specific topics about application security, or also the application security verification standard, which is a set of controls to drive the application security program. The thing is actually, is definitely check out the project page to learn more, but there's actually quite a lot of different project areas, or we call the categories, which is the flagship project. So the top 10, the one you see on the right-hand side, as well as the ASVS, they're all the flagship projects. They're usually the better known. Then we have the lab projects and as well as the incubator projects. So the interesting thing is that the OWASP WrongSecrets, so the project I'll be presenting today, actually moved fairly quickly from the incubator status to the lab project status, which indicates that there is a certain maturity in that project already in place, and that will be likely, be moved into a production project, which then can mean you can actually deploy WrongSecrets into production for learn more about secrets management. So again, it really depends on the maturity of the project, but usually everybody can start a project, start from incubator up to lab, and eventually will be moved to the flagship. And then also we have the production project category that gives some more details on a certain status. Now, when we talk about this, why is it actually important in the context of OWASP? How does it actually help you as a security professional or as a developer? The most important thing is that OWASP project in themselves are actually free and they're open source. So you can just use them straight away. There's no pre-investment needed as part of your security program or even as part of your developer tool stack. And the great thing is, as I mentioned, there's a huge community in Slack and also on GitHub that actually supports those projects actively. So even when I talk to the project leads of WrongSecrets, they usually respond within like hours when you have any questions. And the great thing is everything is freely available on OWASP.org and also on the GitHub repositories. So if you have any questions around projects, if you're stuck with something, or even if you just want to know about like cloud native security on the application level, then just go to the OWASP channel and ask a question, and it will definitely help. And as again, there's a lot of documentation available. Cool. So we learned now what the OWASP is and some of the mission we have and some of the most well-known projects. Now, what I'd like to do now is introduce you a really exciting project that helps you understanding the importance of doing secrets management right in the cloud native way. And that is we call the OWASP WrongSecrets project. So the first thing I actually like to do is just give the audience, so for you, just a bit of time, just to talk about the question is, where have you found exposed secrets? And I actually can see, that's great. Thank you, David, just to see that there's actually already people been adding something to the poll. So first of all, let's really think of where have you actually found exposed secrets in the past. And what we can see here is just from what you, as the audience said, is most of the secrets that you found were either in repositories, in code, in containers, actually even all over the place. Yeah, you just see that just been rising. And to be honest, if you think about this, this is actually the case, right? Quite often, if you would just think about straight away, where are all your secrets? You know, where they actually are, how they handled. Could you actually do this in a, you know, just rotate them very quickly? It's going to be very difficult to do. So as you see, even what you can see is that actually the containers, and that's a good thing. Actually, we'll talk about containers in a second on exposed secrets. So there will be more of that. So we're just going to leave that running, and we can also go back to the vote in the end. But you can really see there is, like, people is not that you don't know where that there are secrets all over the place. So let's just move back to the presentation. So thank you very much for the interaction. So now we've seen that you as the audience, you're aware that secrets are an important issue and we really have to get things right. Actually, I'm also involved with the Cloud Security Alliance on, especially in the DevSecOps working group. And also the CSA has released a guidelines, but sort of the OWASP top 10 for cloud computing. And actually the number one issue identified is insufficient identity and credentials management, which leads to credentials theft. Again, due to improperly done secrets management. And also when we talk about the OWASP top 10, the top number one is broken access controls. And also another one is security misconfiguration. And again, one of the root causes is exposed secrets that allows attackers to authenticate to a system and then from there perform lateral movement and do data exfiltration and all sorts of bad things, including like ransomware. So even the CrowdStrike has released a threat report that actually shows that those credential attacks are prevalent exploitation a vector in cloud environments. So we really have to know how to do it right. So we talked about the importance of secrets management, and we also had a good vote from you thinking about where we can find secrets. Now I just want to switch gears and really have you think about a second. If you really had to imagine, or if you would basically have a data breach, like think about even Log4j or some of the recent breaches we had, like at Uber, if some like the CISO would come to you and say, okay, you have to rotate all your secrets straight away. Would you actually know where and what to do with them? And would you be able to actually go in all those systems, like GitHub repository, in your containers, in code, and actually change them straight away? And the important thing is, can you actually rotate them in time? Like, say you have a couple of hours to do it, maybe even a day. Would you actually be able to do this on an organization level? Like for me, actually, in working with big companies as a consultant, it is a very difficult and tough thing to do. So, and this is why it's important to really get things straight from the start. Think about shifting security left, and think about secrets management already when we build a system or when we start moving to the cloud. So when we talk about secrets and a secrets management system, a secret itself can mean a lot of things, but in the context of what we're going to talk today about, it's very much a piece of confidential information that allows you to obtain access as an authenticated user or as a authenticated machine to a system. And a secret can come in many ways. Some of them you can see here are already known, like passwords. So that's something you most of them we use, but actually there's much more. Things like API keys, SSH keys for authentication, even multi-factor tokens, even one-time password tokens that you can actually use to authenticate a system. If you think about Azure, you might think about service principal secrets. You might think of like refresh tokens or multi-factor tokens for authentication, and session tokens, storage account connection strings. That all counts as secrets, and they have to be stored or should be stored. We're going to talk about this later. They should be stored, preferably in a secrets management system. So what is a secrets management system? On the other side is very much a way to store a secret and also allow what we call the secrets management lifecycle. So that is from creating, rotating, and expiring a secret. Now in Azure, we have Azure Key Vault, which is a great solution to do both for secrets and for keys, but also we have multi-cloud solutions like HashiCorp Vault that allow you to do the same. Now again, quite often we need to do is doing is in not just activating it, but doing this right. And even when you have a key vault and you use it, there's actually things that can go wrong. So that's what we're going to learn about today. So the OWASP WrongSecrets project is actually there just to really help you understand and learn the common pitfalls about secrets management. There's over 27 challenges available to understand those pitfalls. Also, at the same time, it can actually serve as a guinea pig for your secret scanning tools. And I've actually used this myself in some non-production environment to actually find out whether you can whether a certain secret scanning tool is meeting a benchmark or criteria for detecting certain secrets. Now, it's been as I mentioned, fairly recent project. So some of the projects, like the top 10, have been around for 15 years, but this one has been around only since October 2021. So yeah, more or less like a year. So one of the fairly recent ones. And the good thing is, or the interesting thing is that this secrets project is very much cloud native. So it's been all written in Terraform, deployed on Docker, and running on Kubernetes, and it also supports all major public cloud providers, including Azure. And a big shout out to the project leaders. So that's Jaron Williamson and Ben DeHaan, who are currently the lead authors of the project, and also, of course, the OWASP community supporting this project. And you can also get involved afterwards. If you're interested, just head to the GitHub page and start raising issues or creating pull requests. Now let's talk about the WrongSecrets architecture for a moment before we dive into a couple of challenges. So as I mentioned, WrongSecrets as a OWASP project is very much cloud native. And that means we have actually challenges at every layer that are commonly known, like seen at in cloud native applications. So first of all, we have a Spring Boot, like application server on the application level, including configuration file, which is then deployed on Docker and then running on a Kubernetes cluster and supporting secrets on the major cloud provider. And also the good thing is that we actually in WrongSecrets, you have challenges at actually every layer. So it's not just focusing on Azure Key Vault or an AWS Secrets Manager, but actually allowing you to see, expose, or understand the common pitfalls across all levels. So we talked about WrongSecrets now for a couple of minutes, and I think it's the best really to have you understand how does it actually work when diving into a more demo and seeing some of the just giving you some example challenges around exposed Docker containers, Kubernetes misconfigured environments, and as well exposed passwords in application code. So really looking forward, and there's also going to be some questions that I'm going to ask you, and I'm really happy to see whether you can actually spot some of the vulnerable code. So let's try this. Okay, so the first thing that we want to do is, that's a bit too quick. Let's first go to OWASP.org and really look first where we can find and install the OWASP WrongSecrets as a project. So the first thing we can do in OWASP is go to OWASP.org, go to projects, and within browse all projects, you can find all the relevant OWASP projects. If you now scroll down, you can actually find wrong secrets under lab projects. And this is the bottom entry here. So again, there's a lot of projects, but I think for now, let's just focus on wrong secrets as a really cool and interesting project. So as soon as we go here, you can see a description, what the product does. Again, that's actually the same for all OWASP projects, and also a way to install it. And that's actually the easiest way to install. You can just deploy a container. The good thing is there's actually a Heroku app as well that you can use. Just there only is some limitation and certain challenges you can do, especially around the interesting bit around Azure Key Vault, which is not supported in the Heroku app, but you can just use it actually as an online environment. And I will be sharing the link after for you just to start playing around. Now let's go for a second on the GitHub repository. And you can see it's quite an active project. So 22 hours ago since the last commit. So again, a very, people are very much maintaining the project on a day-to-day basis. And you can see it's actually deployed in Azure and GCP as well as in AWS. And it's very much all written in Terraform. So you can find out more about this here. And just go ahead with this. What we'll be doing now is basically what I've done, prepared is the Azure environment for this. So you can just click on the Azure folder, and you can see it's all written in Terraform here. And there's actually really helpful README to install this and set this up. So very much easy, well written and documented what you need to do, including the required installations. So I've just done that, just pulled that on my environment. And also just have this running on a Kubernetes cluster in Azure. So what we're going to do is just head to our local, let's see. First of all, to our local instance. So again, what we can do when you install it, just follow the documentation, run the Terraform, and then you can set up a local connectivity to your AKS cluster in order to access that instance on your local host. Now, in wrong secrets itself, we have first of all the overview of the challenges. Then we have some further information available next to each challenge. So the focus of that, the difficulty, what environment it runs in, as well as some contributors to the project. Also, if you scroll down, you can find some further information on reading about secrets management. So one thing I'm going to be sharing is the secrets management cheat sheet, but then also some more understanding on what we just talked about, what a secrets is. Cool. Now let's just get started straight away with an interesting challenge to do this. And this is very much the first challenge. So let's just click on here. And what you can also see here is basically we first are presented with the challenge itself. So we know here we're looking for a centrally hard-coded password.
Yeah, so apologies to interrupt, Dan. Is it possible to maximize the screen a little, or to zoom in a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be good.
Let me see. Like this?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's good.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah. So I do have a question. I'm not sure if you want to take the question now. I want to take the question later. But I do have one question that came into the chat window.
Yeah, we can take the question now. Sure.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So again, sorry to interrupt. So the question comes from Torpedo for View, and the question is, can you recommend any good secure coding resources? And I guess if you want to take that later at the end, or if you want to take that now, that's fine. So yeah, that's the question.
Let me take that at the end, because we just looked at the OWASP projects overview, and there is some of the cheat sheets that you can actually use. And actually can show this in a second, is the application security verification standards, and also the secure coding checklist on the OWASP projects page. But I'm happy, I'll show this after.
No problems at all. Thanks very much.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, so let's talk about the first challenge. We first of all looking for a centralized hard-coded password, and what we know here is we're looking for exposed secrets in the code. So the first thing we can click on hints and also understand what's wrong. But first of all, let's really take the approach and solve this challenge. So I'm not sure if Is this big enough, my screen?
Yes, so it looks big. It looks readable to me.
Okay.
So, but I think that maybe you can just maybe zoom in a few more times, and I think that'll be perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, I
All
think
right.
that's good. That's good. Yeah.
Great. All right. So now, in terms of the first challenge, what we're looking is for a hard-coded secret in the code. And the first thing what we can start doing is just looking for, grep for passwords. So the first thing I'm just going to start doing is just looking for passwords within our source code repository, because it's an application that is being deployed in a regular cloud native manner on a Java Spring server. Now we can see here is already quite juicy as an output, and you can see if you look closely, actually there's already the grep actually exposed already a reference in that particular file in Docker challenges 1. So now with that knowledge at hand, we can actually go to Java challenges, Docker, and challenge number 1, and then we presented with the code here. And the thing is, actually within here, there's an indicator. We can't find the code straight away, but that's more the question I'm going to ask for the audience. Let me just check if that is the right file that I have. Just give me 1 second. Challenge 2. Yeah, sorry, that was the wrong. Okay, this file, the challenge number 1. So question for the audience, and you can just post it in the chat. Can you tell me what is the suspicious line of code here that would tell us about a insecure code practice? I'm going to give it a couple of seconds time just to tell me what you think.
So I've put the questions out on also in the chat window, and I've also put it out. So if you look at what Dana shared, so who wants to share what's the suspicious line of code with regards to secrets there?
So where can we see there is a bad coding practice or coding smell within this particular code that indicates insecure secrets management?
Oh, we got some things in the chat. We got two in chat window, so let me read some of them. So Sunil says, getting password from the constant Java class. And Torpedo for View says line number 31.
There you go. Yeah, that's like 100 bonus points for both of you. It's exactly that case, and that's what you said. It's having a constant .password in your code. And what it actually means is that we have like an indicator that our password is being used, not just being pulled in dynamically, but actually being constantly noted in the code. Now we can click even here to the reference file, but actually can go down here is constants.java. And what we can see here is that we're very much presented now with our exposed secrets. And that is in line number 8. So again, thank you very much for the audiences to help find the challenge. And as you see, like sometimes this might take a bit longer on a more complex application stack, but actually I've seen this myself quite often, as even in a Git commit history, being lost or forgotten 100 commits deep in the repository where somebody just had a secret still stored that was still valid and used for authentication, like for example to a service principal. So let's just take this and then we can zoom in a bit, actually use this. And we see that the answer is correct. So we just solved our first challenge. So now we can get the cool thing about wrong secrets is that we actually also can see some of the hints, some of the things that we just explained, like you can grab, you can actually use a tool like Git secrets, or gives you more indication on the different ways to solve a challenge. The other thing is also we talk about the things, what's actually the thing that is going wrong here. And as I mentioned, it is just a terrible idea, terrible to put secrets in code and should be avoided at all costs. And that's for that reason we want to have a secrets management solution in place. Great, so we solved our first challenge. Now let's just try the third challenge, because that's actually quite interesting one. Thing about exposed environment variables and passwords in Docker environments. So one to know here is we're looking for an environment-based passwords, and what actually good thing, interesting thing is that I've seen this happening myself as well in production environments, even with private Docker repositories that that have exposed environment variables. So in order to solve this challenge, we don't even need to go look in the code. We can just go to the Docker Hub repository and just look around the existing containers. So we have the WrongSecrets container here, and then we can go and tags. And within the tag, we can go into the image layers. I'm not sure if that's visible for the audience.
Yeah, I think just maybe one more level of zooming in, I think would be perfect. Yep, that's good. Yep,
perfect.
Awesome.
So what we can see here, maybe it's a question for the audience. Can you tell me if you see somewhere what line you can see an exposed secret within that? We just posted to the chat.
Okay. What line can you see an exposed secret?
Let's see if we get one. Yep.
Yep. So we got line 16 by Eri and line 16 by Sunil.
There you go. Thank you, Ariel. Sunil, absolutely right. That is actually what we're looking
and Antonio,
for.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing is, there's actually more passwords, so it's not just one line. But for that challenge, we think about line 16. And if we look here, the interesting thing is, it doesn't really look like a password. It doesn't. It just looks like a sentence. But actually, this is something that a secret scanning tool has quite often a difficulty picking up because of the entropy. Because this doesn't look like a password or something you could grab. So,
yeah, and we are Eri said everywhere.
It's true. It's true. There's way more around. So yeah, there's exposed secrets all over the place. So yeah, thank you very much for helping us to find this. And now we can go back and just use it as the solution. Now, what I'd just like to jump is show you to do the challenge in a slightly different way, and it is basically just using a tool like Docker that is basically also allow you to scan the different image layers. And I've just prepared this, which will also show you that as the output actually gives you some of the Docker environment variable. So again, this is something potentially some tools can pick up, but I'll tell you, not all of them, especially if you're looking for more like something that you can grab or that fulfills a certain regular expression. Cool. So yeah, also what's wrong, we talked about avoid using containers in put secrets in containers. Really use a secrets management solution. Make sure that containers are because they're always immutable and versioned, and make sure you don't store them at any given point in any image layer, and instead pull them in externally via a secrets management solution. Now, let's just talk about something more Azure related, because I think this is one of the really interesting challenges when we talk about Azure security and key vault security. And this is actually finding and exposed secrets in Terraform. And this one is quite interesting because myself, I'm working as a lead cloud security architect, and this is something I've seen quite a lot of big companies doing wrong in production environments. So again, something that is not just a challenge, but actually shows really like how things have happened. So let me just look for this challenge. It's very much, we can just go here in our environment, and I'm going to zoom this in. So what we have here is our Azure portal, just a subscription. Again, we deployed the Terraform as infrastructure as code into our subscription, and includes also storage account. And what we usually do as good practice is having the state file stored in a storage account. For people who don't know Terraform, the state file is essentially where all the description of the infrastructure is stored. And quite often what happens is that it just doesn't store only the description of your infrastructure, but some things that could actually be also used for an attacker. So in our storage account, let's just go to the containers, look at TF state, and then the terraform.tf state. Then we can just go edit the file and start looking. And same thing, simple, password. Show me some passwords. You can see, okay, that looks interesting. There's a random password being generated in the code. So something we can start looking. There's some more other passwords. Let's find some admin password, but that's empty. And then some other one. And this one looks quite interesting. So we can see here the random password in the, that has been created, and look into the result and can find this, which is essentially secrets that is used to authenticate, for example, to a virtual machine or potentially to a highly privileged admin account in Azure. So let's just try this and see if that actually solves the challenge. Yep. And again, what you can see is a really prime example of insecure secrets management in infrastructure as code. And the thing is actually, as I said, is this is done quite often in bigger environments. It's just been the secrets the storage account is just available for most developers, for CI/CD pipelines, for a lot of service principles, and in general is not really that locked down. And this is in itself a problem, because as soon as you start creating secrets in Terraform and you store them, they can be actually exposed. There's a couple of options to do this. One is just, for example, encrypt them. You like in state, there is some like Terraform Enterprise, which will cost you some money. But actually, the most important thing is just don't even do it. As soon as you create a secret, stored in a key vault. So again, also a good way just to show how things can go wrong. Now let's just step up the challenge and do challenge number 10, which is actually in itself very similar to challenge 9. However, it's actually more running on Kubernetes-based challenge in running on AKS. So we're looking here is an issue that we're mounting the Kubernetes pod via a CSI driver for Azure, and you can get more information on the CSI drivers, but it's basically a way to mount secrets, or just basically mount information on a pod in Kubernetes. So in order to do this challenge, I can just go back, just click this. Oops, a second. Yep. And now just see our running pods of our Kubernetes cluster. What we presented here is the secrets challenge pod. That's the one that we want to have a look into. And now we can do is just being curious, like, okay, is there maybe something that we can just get into the pod and look around? So we can just execute into the pod. Actually, I'm just going to store this in a variable. On this already. Okay. And then execute this and get ourselves into the pod itself. Now, again, maybe that's even something you shouldn't even be allowed to. Talking about permissions. You don't want somebody, just a developer, entering your pod and start looking around. However, in this case, now we want to do it, and then we can go to a directory where it was usually information is mounted. And within it, we can actually find secret store. And within secret store, now we can do an else and find, indeed, we have 2 secrets. So one is the secret we just had for challenge number 9. So it's the same secrets, but actually the wrong secret, number 2, is the one that we're looking for. We can say secret 2 and use this for our challenge. See if that works. Yep, and looks like our answer is correct. So again, another example of what can go wrong. What we've seen here is very much misconfigured access to a Kubernetes pod, and also making sure that somebody cannot access that particular directory. The interesting thing is, now I'm just going to show this very quickly, is if you go in the key vaults, now, again, talking about permissions, we can just go ourselves in the key vault, go under secrets, and go into wrong secrets and actually read this as well. And show the secrets value. Again, it's this, you can say that it's not in itself a problem of Azure, but again, it's very much that the person, or like the permissions that this account, this infrastructure has been deployed to, is overly permissive and allows you just to go into a key vault and read the secrets. Very much comes down to to improperly configured RBAC on the Azure level. And that's actually one of the root causes for a lot of exposed secrets. And it's when we talk about the CSA statistics as a top #1 cloud security issue. Great. So let's just jump back into the talk. Any question? Is there any question that I can take in the meanwhile before we move into some of the mitigation techniques?
Yes, so there are some questions. Oh, sorry, please go ahead, Ibaima. Please go ahead with the first question.
Yes, we have a couple of questions here. Torpedo, let me check.
So this one?
We can take one question and we can just take the rest in the end.
Let me show this. Do you store a hash of the secret in the code and update it when the secret rotated?
That is possible. Well, the thing is, it's still a hash, and a hash can be reversed. So it also depends on the quality of the hash. You preferably, or you must store it in another way, or just use something like a bcrypt function just to reverse the secret. So there's more also in the application security verification standard. I'll show in a second. It actually tells you all the things you need to do around secrets management and doing secure coding.
Okay. There is another one.
Yeah. Do we want to take the others at the end? Okay, yeah, we can.
Okay,
okay.
Let's do it at the end. Now we talk about some of the challenges we've seen in wrong secrets. Now and because there was a question already coming up about that, so let's talk about some of the mitigation techniques on to do this. And I'll share some of the OWASP security code guidelines afterwards, or like in the chat, so you have a better understanding. But first of all, let's really talk about the simple things. And the thing is not going to be surprising for you. First of all, is do not avoid hard coding any secrets, and also like actually hashes in your code at any given point. Instead, use a secrets management system. You want to generate, you want to store, you want to retrieve, and even rotate your secrets in a given secrets management system. And also, you want to make sure to rotate them frequently. So for example, I think the sys benchmark, there's a certain sys benchmark for ATOS secrets to rotate them at least in a short time interval, depending on the use. Of course, it could be up to every month, but actually something for like session tokens that could be every couple of hours or even after the session ends. Also, make sure to use dynamic secrets. So that's very much also in the context of Azure, where you want to use tokens instead of actually passwords, even for service principal authentication. And also make sure to encrypt secrets properly, using strong hashes, strong encryption, both in storage, so TLS, but also at rest. So ensuring you have strong hashes that actually they're properly salted. And also, very much what we see with some of the challenges is to restrict access to a least privilege. So you want to really avoid, like what we've just seen, is a developer coming into your production environment, reading your secrets from the state file, going into the key vaults, or just an attacker getting remote code execution on a Kubernetes cluster and starting to look around in a container for exposed environment variables or credentials. And that also comes down to auditing and monitoring your access, including the secrets. So really make sure that you have your logs enabled, your activity, like audit logs, activity logs in Azure AD or even AWS and GCP to make sure knowing who at what given time is accessing a secret. Now, we've seen a whole lot about secrets management and OWASP WrongSecrets. First thing important that we talked about today was why is it actually important to have secrets, to think about secrets management. And we talked about the importance, so we had the vote, that we actually recognize secrets are actually all over the place, and we really need to understand how to do it right. And we also learned what a secrets is and a secrets management system like Azure Key Vault, HashiCorp Vault, AWS Secrets Manager, and also learned about wrong secrets management with OWASP and actually how this helps you understanding the things that can go wrong and actually learning how to do it properly. And the good thing is that you can use it as a guinea pig for your secured scanning and actually look at challenges, different challenges like in containers, in hard-coded passwords, as well as misconfigured Terraform state and Kubernetes environments to understand what things can actually go wrong. And then also we learn about the mitigation techniques for secrets management. So first of all, make sure you have least privilege, ensure least privileged access. Make sure that you actually have a secrets management system to create, rotate, store, and retrieve and actually revoke secrets. And also make sure they're properly encrypted, in rest, in transit, and make sure you monitor your access, whoever is accessing that at any given point of time, and just really do your common security hygiene as part of your environment. And I think this is just really for some food of thought, really, just to start getting more involved with OWASP WrongSecrets. So just check out the OWASP WrongSecrets page and the online demo. And I'm going to paste the link of the OWASP cheat sheet on secrets management in a second. And then I'll also show you some of the secure coding guidelines that are available. So before we take a question, I just want to share this very briefly, is the secrets management cheat sheet. Now, this is the one. I'm just going to share this actually afterwards because I think I have to jump between windows. So this is one thing you can check out basically on owasp.org.
Yeah, I'll get the link.
And you basically can see cheat sheet.
Yeah.
You can click here or find that series here. Oops, we had it here. The cheat sheet
found
series.
It. Yep, found it. So I've posted it in the chat window now.
Mm-hmm. And then also the application security verification standard, which talks more about secure coding guidelines. We can talk about this in a separate session. There's also some really great talks available, but also check this out, a long list of what to do.
That'll be awesome.
I'm happy to take questions.
Yeah, I think that so hello. Oh, okay, yeah, we got Ibrahima. So Ibrahima, do we have any questions in the chat window for them?
I think I've seen. Let me check. One question that I think it was from.
I think there was one from Torpedo for you earlier, so which I think you've already answered, which is Torpedo asks, can you recommend any good secure coding resources?
Mm-hmm.
And I think you've recommended, and actually, like the projects that you shared, one of the things that was going through my mind as we're sharing the OWASP WrongSecrets project is that this is a very good training resource. It's like a free training resource that's out there that can be used to enable developers in towards better secret management when they're coding or when they're developing applications. So I thought that was really, really good. And then in addition to that, you shared with us the application security verification standards, which the link is also in the chat window for anyone that will be interested in that.
And also check out the cheat sheet series. So that I'm gonna post this as well in the chat. I'm just going to share with you, David.
Yeah.
So that's basically cheatsheet-series.owas.org, and you basically find not everything, but like all the good material related to code security on the cheat sheet series, and that includes the application security code, mobile application security code, the proactive controls, and all the different cheat sheets around session management, like Docker security and cloud security.
I think this was the question from Topido for real. Can you explain the process of secrets management when secrets are rotated? How is the process of authentication validated?
So yeah, I think that's a good point. I think validation is very much to the identity whoever is doing that. So there is actually, first of all, like secrets management, you start with the life cycle. You start to create a secret, then you start to retrieve secrets and starting to rotate it. So I think the process of authentication in itself is really dependent also on the secrets management solution. So quite often, I think for Azure Key Vault, for example, is that you have to be an authenticated service principal in order to do this, preferably with certain permissions. So on a lockdown user to actually do this, that's something. For example, we have with some of in the environment I work with, we have an Azure function that is handling the secrets rotation. That's, for example, something you want to do only, in a privileged function. Even HashiCorp Vault actually provides this part of a built-in permission. So somebody only has certain access to rotate secrets, given in that particular Vault instance. So it's very much down to, again, this privilege and ensuring that the user not the user, but basically that function that is doing the rotation is actually properly locked down, and you don't allow anybody coming in and just rotating a secret that is not authenticated, essentially.
That's awesome. That's very awesome. So I can see some comments, some amazing comments also from Antonio in the chat window relating to Azure. So for those that are also looking in the chat window, Antonio had some very, very good recommendations there. So Dan, I don't like answering these types of questions myself, but I'll ask you this type of question. Feel free to not answer them. Yeah. But you're an application security expert, right? There are a lot of things that organizations can be doing to secure their applications, whether they're running them on Azure, AWS, or any other clouds, SaaS, DAST, secret management, and many other things. But from your experience, what would you say if a company is we only have the resource to do just one thing then, right? We don't have resources to do 15 things at once. We can only do one thing at the moment. What would you say would be the one thing that you tell the organization that you want to improve your application security posture? This is the one thing that you want to do to get the biggest win, so to speak. Yeah. I don't like answering that because there's always context that's needed, but just from your own general experience, I'd like to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, but what I would do actually is, and I've actually had some similar conversations, like running, there's some good talks, first of all, about running an AppSec program on a budget. So really one from OWASP, wow. So check this out.
Sounds like a nice talk.
Yes, yes. The great thing is that they're really, like also about OWASP, and we mentioned it, is the application security verification standard. And that actually includes an exhaustive list of security controls that you can use and start building a secure baseline for your application. And that was probably something we'll do first, is having a set of benchmark or a set of framework that you use, and you start building the program. But even just to make it even more simple, it's really ensuring that code is being reviewed and is also being scanned. And that also includes all the things in the ASVS. So basically, I think I would just recommend look at the OWASP top 10 and the ASVS, which are already two things, but it's actually more the ASVS as a list to do all the practices. And again, it's free, it's open source. You can just download the resource and start, implementing those controls.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm not sure if Ibrahima has any other questions for Dan, but I have one more if Ibrahima does not have any other one. Ibrahima, any question that you have? By the way, I like the answer in the chat window. I said, what can we do? Someone said, if there's only one thing you can do, Item number 1, buy pizza. Item number 2, get them to come speak to everyone. And that would definitely improve your security, application security posture. Okay. Yeah. So,
I think
okay.
I think it's also, thank you very Henry, great shout out. I think it's just basically part of OWASP. It's everybody can get involved with this. So all the material is free. Just use it. WrongSecrets is a good example, but there's so much more. There's a huge community is doing a lot of great work, and if you want to become part of it, please do join the Slack channel. There's also some regular meetups that we run, the same like as you, David. And I think your meetup is very much an inspiration for also OWASP meetings, just to run this more regularly, also in a virtual environment. So, but yeah.
Yeah,
Shout
I'll
out
get the link for that and I'll post that. I'll get the link for that and
Cool.
I'll post that. Yeah, so
Thank
just
you.
one final thing before you go. So as a cloud security person, one of the biggest pushbacks that I get from developers and other functional teams in the organization is, what you're doing is amazing for the organization. It helps in terms of fulfilling that purpose, but you're just creating more work for me to do. How do you usually navigate like that conversation when they go, Dan, like what you're doing, you're just going to create more stuff for me to do and more stuff for me to do. Is there a way that we can help teams navigate that to say, hey, we can probably start to use some automation to maybe remediate some of these, some ways to automate some of the application of the policies and stuff like that. Yeah. So just want to hear your thoughts again on that before let's take it for today.
Yeah, I think it's if you do things, I think in general security should not be must not be an obstacle, something that creates a lot of more work. Yes, but it should also help enabling users, enabling a business actually do the things correctly. So quite often when people say, oh, you're having more work, but actually this means you're more compliant, you're more able to do things more rapidly. And in a secure way. So think about secure design. If we do things already in the beginning, we don't have to fix something in the end for a lot of more costs. Patch it for, in a production environment, and then have like business outage for a whole day, or potentially, some downtime or something pretty worse, like a breach. If we do invest money already earlier in effort to do things correctly, before actually stuff hits the fan afterwards. So I think this is basically one of the approaches. Really think about shifting security left already in the beginning, and make sure that if you do things securely and right, this will actually enable you in a cloud environment to spin things up more quicker, more secure, and actually also enable other teams to provision resources in a more secure manner. Because otherwise, I used to be an auditor for quite a while in the big 4 companies, and I can tell you don't want somebody coming in with a report and saying you have to change all those things in the next hours or days, because otherwise you business is going to be out of you're going to be out of business.
Nice. That's amazing. Again, thanks very much, Dan. That was a very, very informative session. So lots of people also agreeing. So I can see Lucy going, thanks very much, learned a lot. I can see Torpedo for you also saying, thanks, Dan, and a lot of people saying it's been an amazing session. So any final thoughts, Ibrahima and Dan, before we round it up for today? Any final thoughts?
Yeah, thank you very much.
Final thoughts.
Yeah, I did also.
Awesome. But final thoughts is really shift security left. Use the OWASP resources. Make sure you actually getting people on board. So I love the concept of security champions. So people like if you want to, if you're not in a security role, go talk to somebody who can help you get there, and really just start picking up things in the course of your work and saying, this doesn't look right, or we want to do something in a more secure way. Just go ahead and do it. And as I said, just use the OWASP material. They're free, they're open source. They really help you drive those we call like the mission of making the world more secure with software.
Yeah. Thanks very much, Dan. Thanks very much, Raymond. Thanks very much, everyone, for joining us today. And we'll see you next time. Have a lovely rest of the day, evening, afternoon, everyone, wherever you're watching us from. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.